You get out what you put in. Never gonna lose, never gonna win. Long as you're happy, you're always gonna grin. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. Never gonna lose, never gonna win. Long as you're happy, you're always gonna grin. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. Way, here we are. It's December, Dan. Not long to go until the big day, last week of work for most people. I'm joined today by Dan Underwood, all the way from, where are you?
I'm just not far from you. I'm just a bit southwest from you. Good old sunny Plymouth-ish.
Plymouth-ish. Right, there we go. Because we met at a gig in Saltash. So, Dan Underwood, for those people that don't know who you are, let's have a little introduction and who you are, what you do, please.
Well, a little bit similar to when we met, like kind of 6 seconds. So I'm self-development and business coach, specialising in visual mapping. So it's quite a mouthful, but basically I'm a shy introverted kid that learned different ways to communicate your value. And I took that into developing people and business in a visual way. So that's a good idea of what I do.
Perfect. So say that shy bit again.
Shy, yeah. So I don't seem shy now.
No, but you said you were the shy kid. I missed a bit of what you just said.
Shy introvert.
Shy introvert. Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't realise that until I got into my teens, and I realised that was my natural position because everyone was quite outgoing. I didn't understand where I fit in. And then when you went into the world of life, you realise there's just a different way that I communicate, and my value isn't about showing being social. Actually, there's a different way, and now I help people do the same.
Perfect, because there's a lot of shy introverts running businesses. I'm going to just quick a shout out to all these people who have come in. Hello, I'm Mark, yo dude, to you too. Afternoon, Michal, good to see you as always. Good morning, or is it good afternoon, Joanne? Good afternoon to you. Thanks for correcting that. But if you haven't had your lunch, surely it's still morning.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle.
Huh? So, but the thing is, right? I was at an event on Saturday night with my wife, and prior to going, she said, "Oh, you seem a little bit funny when you go." And I go, "Well, sweetie, I'm still that shy 16-year-old when I'm in an event where I don't have any control." So when you met me, I was doing the speaking gig, so I was the speaking guy. Yeah, so I had to be confident and what have you. But if I'd have gone there as a guest of yours, maybe, and didn't know anybody, I'd have been that shy 16-year-old again. So how come you've turned from a shy introvert to where you are today, please, Dan?
I think a lot of it was self-reflection, which is kind of something that I learned as almost I was naturally good at when I was young. I was always good at understanding people, observing them. So again, the introvert thing comes in. But I realized listening. I was really good at listening to people, but then I learned to listen to myself and realize that actually I knew more than I let myself on. It's almost like self-talk. And when you kind of go out, we had a little chat about growing from teenager to adult. When you kind of go out into the adult world, you have to kind of find your own way and literally find your own way. And I am a bit of a strange shape, so I kind of never really saw other me's that I came across. So I realized I had to learn how I learn and how I communicated. My first job was sales. You're really good at sales. I had to learn that because everyone else did it in a way that it didn't feel right to me. So I just talked to people, never at them. I wasn't selling anything. It was just a conversation like we're having today. And that all of a sudden that became a good thing, and I was able to do my job. And I just went, oh, that's me, how I do it. And then other people started to ask me, how did you learn how you did that? And then I just ended up in a coaching role, just through osmosis. And that's where the value comes, is learning how you do it and then slowly building off that. And you find out it's you doing something, not you just repeating something else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll just quickly say hello to Georgina and also Paul. Loads of people in today. If you've got any questions for Dan, then please drop them in the comments, and we will come to those. But this coaching malarkey, did it find you or did you find it?
I didn't know. I just helped people. I didn't know what it was, because when you're young, you just kind of end up becoming parts of you. then when you go into, well, people start asking you, what do you do? And I had to go, I help people. And they go, not good enough, kid. I was like, right, okay. So I thought counselling, that's what you do, right? You just kind of find words. Spoke to a counsellor and they told me off and said, you're not a counsellor, you do too much. I was like, well, I'm not a counsellor. He goes, no, you do the listening of counselling. So I had a tick on one side. Went to meet some coaches and they got told off again, going, you can't do that because you do coaching and more. I was like, I do a coach. And then I did mentoring and they told me off again. I said, so I do mentoring, but actually I do all three. But coach is a nice entry level, which is basically how I help people through a coaching conversation. I have other disciplines like the listening of counselling, the inspiring of mentoring, but this visual aspect as well. So it's a bit like a Swiss Army knife. I can move around because I've had to do it for me first, made all the mistakes, and now I just bring the best bits to the people I help.
Yeah, perfect. That's a great analogy, the Swiss Army knife. So we're getting an awful lot more working with you. Now, you were talking about this visualization thing. What on earth does that mean?
That was it's interesting when you bring people out like that. They're like going, it's marketing, it's graphic facilitation and stuff, and actually it's just another way to add value to when you help people. So in coaching, a lot of it's talk or going for a pattern of like diagnostics. I'm not that kind of person. I'm going, hey, how do you capture your thinking? How do you capture your essence? And I just found different visual ways because I was doing it for me. I was a bit of a doodler, but more of a stick it type guy. I was never a good big picture guy. I could pick up stuff. So when the visual stuff came in, I had to learn it for me first. And then when I started bringing that into the coaching, they went going, that's a map. But it was a map based on the person that was talking. It was just another way of capturing people's learning. And then when you started to realize as how you help people, what the real value you're giving, you've given them the support in the middle, the coaching bit, but what happens after that? And the visual came at a big added value to continue their development because it's theirs. It's like an artist sitting down with someone for a portrait. I'm just doing it and going, here's the way you think. But it's their words. I'm just a translator. And then I realized that skill of taking complex things and simplifying them. Businesses need them too. So the people and business came into one. And I spent years working with businesses, basically taking things that were complex and going, here you go, here's one page. And then they were able to help themselves. So it's a simple tool like an infographic or a framework, but it's a bit more personal, a bit more authentic.
So when you set up your business, you got a business plan or you've got some ideas, or maybe you go to the bank and they need a loan or what have you, and they want a 42-page business plan, and goodness knows what. You just said there that you can do it all in a page.
Yeah.
So what are you missing out, or what are we putting on that's superfluous when we get to these big complex things that we have to do for the bank, for example?
Well, I think that's a rule to the game. So you want a business, you need a business plan for money. So they're just a tick box. It's like an exam. Okay, that's all you're doing there. Doesn't mean after the exam you know how to run your business. So that's the key bit is, okay, you've done a business plan, you've passed one gate, now do it. Like an exam, now go and do it. There's a different type of learning. How people do their business is very, very different to the business plan. You realize that quite quickly. The business plan is only as good as the thing you write it on. It gets you to a gate and through it. It's just passing a test. When you put something on one page and go, hey, you don't need to know everything, you just need to know the essence, and then go deep when you need to, find out how you use it. It's a bit like Lego. You don't go, hey, I'm going to build, the Empire State Building. You go, no, one brick in another brick. Learn how to play your Lego. But you find out you're really some people are good at building cars and building houses, but you find your way of doing it. Once you put that on one page, you go, hey, I can see my business in 30 seconds. Because it's very simple, it's organic, and you can show people your value. A business plan is just a load of pages to pass a test, like I said.
Yeah.
One page is somewhere where it's your value, you can use it to communicate yourself and bring value to your business.
So you're working with all these different businesses. What are the common struggles that you can share with us today that your average business owner's having, Dan?
There's normally 4 questions, and normally you figure out where they're at. So there's the what and the how, which is the business side, and then there's the who and the why.
The what and the why?
The who and the why.
The who and the why, right? Okay.
So you basically got 2 sides: the professional and the personal. Normally the problem's either side or both. And when you talk to them, they are going, "I need more money." It's normally the thing. They think it's a what question. I need to sell more stuff. It's not working. How do I do more? And actually, they don't realize is they haven't realized what they're best at. So it's a who question. How do I work? And actually, a lot of time is the reason why they're not making money or successful or all these things that are blocking them is they haven't realized what they're best at or their people are at. So you pull them away a bit and go, hey, what are you best at? And most of the time is they realize they're not doing that. They're doing everything they can, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, sure.
On a piece of paper and you go, here's your business. Where do you sit? And they go, I'm really good at talking, but I'm not good at managing. Well, okay, where do you spend your time? Managing. Okay, who's a good manager? All of a sudden you're empowering them, but you see it in a visual way. It's objective. And then they come offline and go, you're right, I'd rather be the best at this very small thing I do and find other people that are best instead of just doing it for doing sake. I call it like, are you doing business or are you in busyness? Are you just being busy doing? And visualizing helps people get to that problem very quickly because they see it. They're not just in their heads and it's just not a talking exercise. You go, here you go, you have a choice. And also, when you engage people, they can see the value they bring without you trying to manage them. They're coming to you with solutions, not problems. And that's the key thing is in business, people think they look at all the problems. I go, think about what good looks like and what you're already doing, and then find the bits to fit on top. Don't look at this big problem because it isn't as big as probably what you think it is. So come back a bit and realize you're the solution to all your problems.
So does that mean that you can fix every business?
I think any person in a business can fix the business, yeah, because it's down to people. A business doesn't exist without people.
Yeah.
Sometimes the people are not seen for what they're good at. And a lot of time is with visual stuff is an old saying is if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that's a key thing when you help people is when they look at themselves or they got an opinion themselves, when you shift that objective away from judgment to actually truth, you realize how empowered they become. And businesses, because businesses are great, but people make them great. And it's the people that are going to keep on making it great. So where you invest the time is empowering people. And in businesses, yeah, you can have KPIs and that's great, but it's only going to take you so far. That's just like, a business plan is an exam. Running a business is a real thing. It's not about what you tell the world. You're living it. You're feeling it. You're the one on the journey. There's people with you. Empower them. But to do that, you have to empower yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Joanne's got something to say here. Having met Dan only a couple of times, it immediately struck me what a skill he has for listening and making everyone in the room feel present. I'm not sure that is something you can learn. It really stood out for me. Yeah, I totally agree there, Joanne. I've only met Dan a couple of times, which is why I had to get him on the show because it's just like this rare thing. Dan, if I'm running a business and I've got a small team, then I can start delegating some of the stuff that I'm doing and that's fine. But what if I'm a small business owner and it's only me and I'm wearing every single hat? So I'm just going to keep getting busier and busier. And if I turn around and go, oh, that makes a lot of sense, but who's going to answer the emails or who's going to put the bins out or whatever else it is in my business?
Right. So what you'd normally do is get out of the problem. You can't solve a problem when you're in it. Just come away and actually talk to somebody a bit and go, hey, who are my allies? Because you're going to have the old friends and family around you, supporters. So see them as almost like your non-execs, if you want to put it that way. People would love to help people that are trying. And a lot of the time is people think, oh my God, if I'm not doing it right, I don't want anyone to see if I'm doing it wrong. So they hide and they take on too much. Stop. A lot of time is, there's a problem. Don't keep on going down that path. Stop. Come away and go, what am I best at? And what do I need? Not everybody needs to be paid. I know it sounds a bit strange, but if you're a one-man band business, people like to see people they like succeed. So find people that are your supporters. And then when it grows, who knows? You can swap time for stuff. Not everything has to be a financial exchange. So understand the relationships you want. So for me, I'm not a good seller. So I go, right, okay, I'm really good at doing. So you find people like Ashley or whatever and go, great, you can help me with that bit. But I've got other champions out there who I've cultivated, not paid. They're not agents. They are representatives. They are my people. But we help each other. So it's more, if you want to go somewhere, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
So you're not alone. just take the risk to go, hey, I know there's something difficult. I'm going to be open to what other solutions are out there. There's not one size fits all. But ask the question. People love to help. And it's okay to not be able to do stuff. Not everybody does. I don't know. We just figure out how to do things along. But don't get stuck in jack of all trades, master of none. It will get you. It will get you so far, and it will keep you there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that is that then when we turn around and start taking on staff or outsourcing things or getting virtual assistants and stuff like that. When does that all happen?
That happens when the business matures to the point where it can sustain that. I think a lot of people run before they walk. They get excited, or they get desperate, or they react. That's why I use a visual. Go, look, this is your business, fact, truth. Here it is. Like I said, here's your Lego pieces. This is what it is. Now, what other pieces do you want to add to this? Because it's real. Okay? And do you know what you're doing? A lot of times people get staff because they feel like they need staff. Okay, come away. What does the business need? So think about you not working just in the business, but on the business. Go, come away. It's a strategy. Okay, I need a marketing guy because I'm a really good doer. Okay, great. What does that good marketing guy look like? What relationship do I want? Is it professional? Okay, maybe I need to buy that person in for 6 months. Okay, great. Can you sustain that? There's your next question. Can the business fund it? So be very objective to the point of your abilities, but ask people for help. People love to help, but don't abuse it. A lot of people take people's time for granted. Understand what relationships you want with people. So my values are trust, respect, and honesty. Those are my values, not other people's, but I look for those in others to have professional relationships with that are not just financial, but are professional. So me and you have that. So I look at that and go, right, they are the people in my group that can benefit me and I can benefit them because we're going to grow together. When I need help, I know who to go to. But this has took decades to develop for me to understand those things. But there's good people out there who will help you find your good people. Just going from pond to pond, showing up. A bit like the event we met at. You know, you never know who you're going to meet, and just be open and go, hey, who are you? I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help? That changes the dynamic massively, and people are willing to go, I was like you once. Yeah, I'll help.
Yeah, no, I can't pronounce your name. Is it Janitha? Love that people love to help and do not abuse it. And this is the thing, because I don't know if you've ever turned up in a strange town and you're looking for a location. Yeah. If you stop, all right, and pull up to the curb and wind your window down, whoever you ask is gonna want to help you. Yeah. Nobody I've ever asked has turned around and says, "You've got a sat nav. Go and find your own. Go and find it yourself." They either say, yes, it's fine. You just go down here, turn around here, etc., or they turn around and go, oh my goodness, I don't live here. So I don't really know, but I'm sure I saw something up that way or this way. Yeah. Because
it's all about people. People just overthinking things and go, look, you have a question, they're another person. Don't overthink it. I've done it in France where I didn't understand the language. I was speaking, I'm half Portuguese. I ended up through osmosis, just kind of stumbling, speaking Portuguese to a French guy, pointing at a thing, and he was lovely. He brought his family along and walked me to the hotel. But these are all people, I think, look at judgment, take judgment out of the way and go, hey, I've got a question, I'm willing to ask it. Because at school, if you raise your hand, you look stupid. The world's not like that. Ask a stupid question because it actually demystifies stuff.
That's a jolly good point. You put your hand up in class, you get laughed at.
Yeah, hit. But that's a certain scenario. I think people are almost like traumatized by that, so they don't do life. When you realize that is just a very small box, don't judge life on the rest of it. And I think a lot of people, if you just turn up in a room and go, here's me and everyone else is also them, you'll be all right. If people are businessy, don't worry too much because the only context conversation is business. So ask questions. A lot of people are so desperate to tell you who they are. Don't worry about it. Just be you. And you may realize at the end of the day, people do business with people. That's it. Your business is secondary. Again, the what and the how is over here, but people buy the who and the why. That's long term. And that's why I always flip people across and go, you are the biggest asset to your business, not your business, not what you do. Once you value yourself and why you do it, the what and how will fall into place, because you're now coming from a place from the inside out, going, "Hey, I love this." What you do actually is very much that. You do it because it's who you are and why you do it. What you do, it's just, oh, I'll talk, I'll do a presentation here. The what will find you, like I did. I just like to help people, so I learned a bit of counselling, a bit of coaching, a bit of mentoring, a bit of visual mapping, and there you go. That's how you go.
Yeah.
It's me.
Yeah.
That's the most important bit. Once you're happy with you, you realise good things happen, but you just have to just be calm, be kind to yourself.
Yeah, and people don't judge. People are just as worried themselves. So it's just, you just have to be a little bit brave just to get over that. Paul's just said that you're right, because as we change to that collaborative approach, it changes our mindset from fear to positivity. I've just done some work with the six-figure bookkeepers. It's a group of bookkeepers, and it's a collective, and they all help each other, and they're all in this group. And you'd think that because they're all doing the same thing, that nobody would help each other, but it's the total opposite. They're all helping each other. You know, someone's a little bit further on than somebody else, and they'll help somebody else, and they're because there's always enough business. You know, there is always enough business. It's just, if you've got the right mindset, which is what Paul's just saying, and you're positive, then that's going to attract the same. And I think the trouble is just what Joanne's saying, is we're overthinking it. And Joanne, I'm going to grab hold of your comment there. What's the worst that anyone will say?
Sure.
Change that to what's the best. Because we always go around, what's the worst that can happen? What's the best that can happen? You start thinking like that. That opens up more doors. Yeah. So the trouble is, we all overthink so much. And when you stop the overthinking and just go for it, all kinds of amazing things can happen. So talking about amazing things that can happen, I'm not sure whether you can share names and pack drills and stuff, but you know, someone you've worked with that come to you as a shy introvert, what are they doing now, and what have you done so that we can learn from that? You know, what sort of things should we be doing if we're shy introverts?
Oh, well, I think just anyone that's doesn't value themselves to the point where they really are. I think COVID done a lot to people. It scared them, and it's caused a bit of interesting thought processes. When during COVID it happened to me, I lost my business in 2 weeks, disappeared.
Wow.
So I'm left where everyone else was, scared, insecure, fear, all this kind of stuff. And the questions that were coming to me, Dan, can I help? And I'm like going, I'm trying to help myself. I ended up in a situation where I was doing coaching for the government with unemployed people. So I took my executive coaching and all this stuff for years and took it to unemployed people, which I've done before. And there was one lady, she was the first one, it was remote. So this person was unemployed in Scotland in a village with only with a very rare, very odd internet connection, which dropped in and out. She was Russian, and her husband was a plumber. So pick that as a client. That's quite unique.
Absolutely.
She was my first, and bear in mind it was via the phone. No Zoom at that time. It was before the infancy, and it was to give her 4 sessions of career coaching. And she was second language is English in a village in Scotland, scared, and she had a background in accountancy, but had no self-worth at all, nothing. It was just completely scared of anyone, even her own shadow. And the first session was just, let's take the fear out of the way and just talk about you. She could bet no one ever asked in her life anything about her. So her value was zero. But through that conversation, but literally the counselling side, the listening, bits came out of that. So she did stuff for a big bank in Poland and in Russia. No one ever knew. She just hit it. Okay, that's big credibility. So we put that on the shelf. There's another one. And all these pieces were quite big pieces to build up a picture of her value, which were professional, but you don't tell her that. The second session was to do some self-development, understand her personality. And she refused. She bit hard and go, no, I'm not worth anything. What I do is I'm a parent. I'm all these self-tapes we started to address quite quickly. And we're visualizing some of this stuff as I went along. So I asked her to do a portfolio for her CV, which was basically just, here's a blank thing, put your evidence down. And she goes, I'm not professional enough. I said, no, trust me. And she went away for a week. It only took her a week, and she doesn't use computers. And she did 20 pages.
Wow.
Pages. I was like, okay. And we sat down, we got Zoom on that point, and I went through it, and she goes, I've never seen myself. And we finished it off, and she says, Dan, this is the first time I can see me, and now I can tell my boys who mom is. I have the story of me.
Brilliant.
Right? And you go, right, so you've got someone who could barely talk, has no value, all stuff. These are quite low, challenges. Normally it takes 6 months. Within 3 sessions, I got her from fear to empowerment. And not only that, she wanted to tell her friends, her community about it. So she started to get others to do it. I was like going, wow. And she ended up becoming the accountant for her husband's business. So that, like you said, about bringing people together, he didn't even know. So they came together. She then ended up becoming an independent accountant. We found out what her niche was. So she was a personal accountant, which basically was a certain type, which fit her kind of uniqueness. And she ended up becoming accounts for SMEs. So she went from unemployed to a freelance accountant and a finance director within 3 months.
Perfect.
In a small village in Scotland, don't know where she is, can barely speak to anybody. Right, but that was already in her.
Yeah.
What she needed was a bit of help to get there. Again, who, the why, and then realize the what and the how. And then she had a way, the visual stuff to communicate. And I did this with other people through COVID, and I realized there was always a pattern. It doesn't matter if you're, a 50-year-old had one job cleaning. Your value is not diminished. You just have to see it. You have to reposition it. Here's a way. And it worked. Executives to unemployed to 12-year-old kids to, big-time entrepreneurs doing multi-million-pound stuff. We all are people having a go. There's a pattern. If you know your value and you can learn how you communicate it, you're pretty much 80% there. The next bit is just you showing your value.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Fantastic. Oh, Dan, I could talk to you forever. That was very insightful. Mihil's saying that he likes to think positive rather than negative. We keep thinking negative, it won't be possible to do anything, and that's the thing. And like Georgina says, what's the best that can happen? We've come to the top of the show already, Dan. Is there anything that I haven't asked you, or anything that we should have talked about before we say goodbye?
No, just I'm moving into a position now where I'm showing more value with I'm doing more podcasts and stuff. And I'm open to people if they want to have a chat. Before, I'd be quite narrow and kind of go, well, only those people here. But I'm bringing more value to the world. So on the business side of stuff, if people are looking to help in their business, I spent 15 years working with my dad on a business book, which basically takes everything we just said here on the business side, the what and the how, and visualize it. And there it is. It's available on Amazon. It's called Art of Enterprise. I showed it to Ashley, actually, strangely enough, when we first met. Which basically is the same thing. So you're not alone. There's some information out there. There's some tools that help you help yourself. And if you want some more help on a human level, then I'm here. And the coaching stuff as well on the self-development side is, hey, we're all human. Ask the question.
Absolutely.
Dan's talking to Ashley. Ashley's talking to Dan. You can talk to anybody. Just say hello, and you never know where it may go.
No, you never know. Yeah, absolutely never know. How's the best way for us to get in touch with you, Dan?
Yeah, you can either join me on LinkedIn. I'm always very open to that, or view my website, which is just simple. My name, danunderwood.me. And you can have a look at the browse, the visual stuff on there, and you can contact me through there. But I'm always open to talk to good people looking to do good things.
And talking of LinkedIn, I think you've got a question for me. But before we do that, I just want to give a shout out to next week. Now, next week, you might be forgiven for thinking we're not doing anything because it's getting up for Christmas. But next Monday, I've got a special little show. We have got something super, super exciting happening. I've got Gavin and Jamie from Business Fest Southwest. They're coming in to have a quick natter and to share the exciting news. So you need to come and watch that next week. But in the meantime, Dan, what's your LinkedIn question for me then?
Well, you're quite really good at what you do, both on a human level on LinkedIn. So from my side, I thought as someone that likes posting on LinkedIn for conversation, but in a visual way. I'm not quite sure what good looks like. So my question is, how best to use visuals on LinkedIn, such as infographics and stuff, to bring value?
Love that. So most people just do a selfie, maybe on the train, and then write about it, or they just do text, or they maybe do a poll. But there's something called a document post, Dan. And that document post, you can create a number of pages. It can be a PDF. So if you've got a big infographic that you want to do, you can break that down and make it smaller. And so therefore that document post can be scrolled through when you're on your computer or on your phone. But what you can also do with that document is actually download it. And so if you create a document post, and I do have a video on YouTube how to create a document post. If you create it and put your contact details on the very last page, when people download it, they've got something to then go back and find you. But the top tip for that is to make the text and the images quite big, because 70% of people are looking at LinkedIn on their mobile phones. So if you've got if you can imagine a document, when loads and loads of words on it, it's great if it's an A4 and you've printed it out and you've got your spectacles on, but on a small, mobile phone, it's not going to be very big. So you want the small little points there to get your point over, rather than too complicated. But yeah, use the document post. It's a really, really cool feature of LinkedIn.
How many pages on the document post does good look like? Because a lot of people will put 20.
Yeah.
4 to 5. I'm going, think about it almost like a trailer to a movie. Just give them the high spots of adding value, almost like Instagram. It's
yeah,
hey,
absolutely.
Quite clean, precise, and crisp, but don't overload it. I like to, stimulate conversation, so I don't need to have it in that bit. It's actually going, hey, here's a pebble drop. Where does the ripples go? Question kind of thing.
Yeah. That's a good point. Now, you saw my slides when I did that presentation. Some of those slides just had 1 or 2 words on, or 1 image on. Okay, so therefore you could do 20 on that. But if it's a lot to read, if I start reading it and it takes me a while to read each page, am I going to go to the next one? And you've got to think about how much time people have got. Yeah. So I reckon someone would scroll through 20. Yeah. If there was 1 or 2 words. But there's going to be a sweet spot. So the sweet spot is about a minute. Now, how long is it going to take me to go through? I'm happy to spend a minute on your post. I'm not happy to spend 2 hours on your post. Yeah.
So it's more kind of engagement, kind of snapshots, a bit like Instagram, just in a kind of chain.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a bit like when the old books when me and you were young, which is, the flip, do a little picture. And it's
yeah. Like what they called it, stop animation sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Good old Watson Gromit, but in LinkedIn form.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, you've been absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for all of your lovely comments. Thanks to Joanne and Miho, some nice comments there. This will be a podcast, and in the podcast, there's notes there. So just scroll down and you can get in touch with Dan, or go and find that YouTube video that I've just talked about. Dan, thanks very much indeed. Have a super Christmas, and see you all next week.
Thank you very much.
Hey, you're more than welcome. Good to see you. Cheerio now. Bye-bye.
You get out what you put in. Never gonna